Warning, this podcast contains spoilers for the premiere of House of the Dragon, folks. If you have not watched that, watch that first, then come back. There's some Game of Thrones spoilers there. Be careful. We are stepping out of the airlock and back into Westeros to discuss the premiere of House of the Dragon. Rosie, are you ready?
I am ready.
We open in the year 100/101 AC, old King Jaehaerys looking super, super old and gray. He has gone like 0 for multiple on kids, on heirs. He has missed every shot on trying to get an heir. And so what's happened? The realm has called a huge meeting. This is the Great Council, the legendary Great Council of 101, which took place at the ruined castle of Harrenhal, the biggest castle in all of Westeros. And there, the new ruler, the person who would succeed King Jaehaerys was chosen. And listen, it was not that close, but we had two really good claims, Princess Rhaenys and her younger cousin, Prince Viserys, and the realm went with Viserys because of misogyny, basically. Right? I mean,
Absolutely.
That's it.
It was the only... She is the eldest child. She was the heir. But they didn't want to set a precedent for what will many times in this episode be called a girl heir. So yeah, misogyny.
And it's an interesting thing because... listen, when Aegon the Conqueror came over from Dragonstone to conquer Westeros, he was riding Balerion, the Black Dread, but there were two other dragons, and those were ridden by his sisters/queens, Rhaenys and Visenya. So 66.66% of the dragon armada was piloted by women, yet Westeros does not respect the right of women to rule. Anyway, we flash forward. A golden dragon streaks across the waters of Blackwater Bay to King's Landing, the capital city. This is the dragon Syrax, piloted by Princess Rhaenyra. She climbs off. She's greeted by Harold Westerling of the Kingsguard, who's like, oh my God, thank God you came back. Because if you didn't, I'm legitimately dead. Like, it's my fault, and I'm gone.
Head on a spike.
Head on a spike, I'm finished. Also very happy to see her friend Alicent Hightower. They are wonderful friends, and I'm sure that will last forever and ever, and they will be great friends forever and ever till time
And
immemorial.
maybe they'll be girlfriends, and there will be no conflict, and they'll live happily ever after. Who knows?
Rhaenyra and Alicent walk arm in arm through the Red Keep, and we see this wonderful tableau of all the courtiers and the attendants and all the people that populate the seat of government here in Westeros. Rhaenyra goes to see her mom, Queen Aemma, who is super duper pregnant with the long hoped for heir to the Iron Throne to King Viserys. And they have a little conversation, and Queen Aemma's like, listen, we have wombs. A childbed is our battlefield, and this is what we're going to have to deal with. This is the prison cell that we are in. This is the only responsibility we were given, is just pumping them out. Rhaenyra doesn't love that, and also Rhaenyra stinks of dragon, which her mom is like, you smell. Go take a shower. Rhaenyra goes to the small council chamber where she has a job as the cupbearer. And she's late. King Viserys is in the middle of telling a joke. And we get, in this really wonderful scene, we get a feeling of what all of the different members of the small council do, right? There's Corlys Velaryon. He's the master of ships. And guess what? He cares about ship stuff. He's like the Triarchy. The Triarchy, which is a amalgamation of three different cities from Essos. They are pushing into the Stepstones. The leader of this Triarchy fleet is this guy, Kragos Drahar, the crab feeder. And as one would expect, being the master of ships, Corlys is very, very focused on anything that has to do with ships. King Viserys and Otto Hightower aren't like super locked into the pirate issue. King Viserys is like, well, hold on. If the crab feeder is going to the Stepstones and clearing out the pirates, then that's good, right? And Otto's like, yeah, what the king said, isn't that good? And then Rhaenyra enters. She's still stinking. She has not taken a shower. And King Viserys is like, sniffs her and is like, you smell like dragon, which is embarrassing if that happens in front of like the most powerful people in the realm, right? If your dad is like, you smell.
It is. I also think it's like a really interesting bit of the world building we get here, where like in Game of Thrones, dragons were this mythical thing that hadn't been around. Here, everyone's like, this is your pet and it smells bad like a dog. Please leave us alone. They are taking the dragons for granted. At least the people who don't fly with them are.
We get some more conversation and again learning what each member of the small council does. Lord Lyman Beesbury, the master of coin, he pipes up regarding King Viserys' brother, Prince Daemon's massive expenditures in re-equipping and retraining the City Watch. ACAB, in this case, absolutely pertains to Daemon Targaryen. Daemon's expenses regarding the City Watch are mainly like a more upgraded training regime that's basically making them more bloodthirsty, and the fancy gold cloaks, which would become the symbol of the City Watch in later years. Prince Daemon, as usual, is not here. He's not here, and no one can ask him where the money went because he's not here. Viserys is like, hey, guys, I understand my brother's spending a lot of money on the City Watch stuff, but like, it's actually great because it keeps him busy, and we all understand what a fucking wild card that guy is, right? Lord Corlys goes back to the crab feeder. He's like, hey, not, like trade in the narrow sea is going to be impacted by this. Also, kind of unspoken is like my house on Driftmark is right there. Like, can we do something? Another interesting and kind of like unspoken bit of context to all of this is, so the Stepstones are like, this series of islands that were once like an unbroken land bridge between Westeros and Essos. It's kind of like the boot of Italy, like if it extended across to, Albania. So that got broken. And so they're called the Stepstones now. But Dorne during this time, approximately 109 or whatever, 110, is not part of the kingdom. It is an independent region. The Aegon the Conqueror was not able to conquer Dorne. In fact, he lost one of his sisters in the war against Dorne. So it's actually like kind of alarming that the Triarchy is pushing into the Stepstones, and then if Dorne decides to cooperate and link up with them, all of a sudden you've got this big, big problem right here on the continent. So Corlys is right to be concerned about this. Otto Hightower shuts all this talk down about the City Watch and stuff, and he turns the conversation to the heirs tournament. And the king loves this subject because he's got a great feeling that this time, Rosie, I know that there's been a lot of pregnancies, a lot of miscarriages from Queen Emma. They only have the one surviving child, Princess Rhaenyra, but man,
this time
he's got a great feeling about it. And not only does he have a great feeling about it, they booked the date in the sports arena, and everybody's coming. If you're counting the chickens way before they're hatched, we are put it on the books. Write it down. This child is being born, and it's going to happen this day, and we're going to have a great tournament, and it's going to be great.
Yeah, I also think like you were bringing up this kind of greater context. Part of the reason why he's missing it is he's obsessed with the idea of having an heir and having a male heir. He needs the stability, and it means that many things happen in this episode because of that are clearly going to, create massive, terrible waves in the future.
Grand Maester Melos is like, hey, listen, we did our best on the prediction of the delivery date, and this feels like it is right, but don't quote me on it. Beesbury, Master of Coin again, says, hey, also, this is really expensive. Maybe we push until after the child is born. What do you think about that? Lord Strong, Lionel Strong, is the Master of Laws, and he's like, hey, listen, everybody's already booked their flights. okay, we can't change it now because everybody's on their way here. Like, again, Westeros is very, very large. And so people would have been on the road, certainly if they're coming from the north, they probably got on the road like a month and a half to 2 months prior. So people are in motion and you can't just call it off now. And what could go wrong, right? Like we know this, it's going to be a boy, number one, and it's going to be fine.
Yeah, pregnancy notoriously safe.
Notoriously
both now
safe.
and in, hundreds of years ago in a fantastical country. Nothing could go wrong, and you can definitely tell the gender of a baby.
It's fine.
It's going to be fine.
Princess Rhaenyra is informed by her personal Kingsguard bodyguard, Harold Westerling, that Prince Daemon, the king's brother, has returned to the capital, and nobody knows he's there except for Harold Westerling and now Princess Rhaenyra. Rhaenyra goes to see him. He's in the throne room, and he's sitting on the throne. Harold Westerling is like, holy shit, the fuck? This is, implicitly feels like a threat unless you know Daemon, who is just kind of like a jokey troll kind of guy. He gives Rhaenyra a necklace. It's of Valyrian steel that he acquired who knows where in his travels. They're not making more of it, but it can be reforged into different forms. So one would assume that this is a very, very old necklace.
Yeah, and she's very taken by it because she's like Dark Sister. Like she knows what Valyrian steel is. And this is like a really interesting moment because, like you said, Daemon's got this like shitpost personality, but he's obviously a threat, but he loves his family.
Absolutely.
It's like this really interesting complex nature of this character that's just summed up in like one scene. Disrespects the throne, but gives his niece this like incredibly rare, specifically made piece of jewelry that stands for the legacy of their family and where they come from.
It's quite clear that whatever Daemon's issues with other people, he really loves. He clearly has a very special bond with Rhaenyra, his niece. Later, Rhaenyra and Alicent are hanging out in the Godswood. They're doing homework. Kind of, Alicent is trying to get Rhaenyra to do her homework, which is a lesson about Nymeria, one of the most legendary figures, certainly in Dornish history and in the history of Westeros, one of the most well-known female heroes in the lore of Westeros. Rhaenyra doesn't really want to do stuff, and Alicent she thinks that Rhaenyra is worried about being overshadowed by her brother that is about to be born, but that's not really true. Rhaenyra, meanwhile, understands that her father really wants this son because she just never, ever, ever, he never stops talking about it. All he does is talk about the son, the son, the son, the son. And then to give you an idea of what a sharp customer Rhaenyra is, she then immediately reels off the entire history of Nymeria's journey to Dorne like it was, written on the back of her dragon. She just knows it.
I love this scene so much. There's
Me too.
So much innate chemistry. And both the actors did say like the vibes of them maybe being more than friends or having that kind of sapphic like coming of age relationship is intentional. And there's so much closeness. And it's so intrinsically done just by positioning. And you learn so much about them. And by the end of the episode, you just know where it's going to go. And it's heartbreaking.
Yeah, because it's already such a fucked up world where women in particular are burdened with all types of dangers that are just inherent in this society. But in this moment, they are just two great friends.
Yeah, they're just two kids lazing around and like fucking with each other. Like, no, I don't want to do it. Like, you're going to get in trouble because you're not teaching me. Oh, actually, I know this off by heart. It's a very Arya moment. The Nymeria's history, like knowing it off by heart. There's so many great little moments we get to see as callbacks here.
In the King's Chambers, we learn that the Iron Throne is actually taking a toll on the king physically. A cut from one of the many blades has become infected, and Grand Maester Mellos is like, we can cauterize it. I've sent some samples to Old Town to see what they can come up with. Meanwhile, Otto Hightower, who is very, very concerned about any kind of hint of weakness, right? Any kind of suggestion that people could latch onto that the king is weak, wants to make sure that this is not widely known. Now, I should add, it's an interesting irony, right? You're sitting on a chair made of blades, And if you get cut by them, people will absolutely take that as a sign that you're
not supposed to sit on it.
You're not supposed to sit on it.
And it feels like it's going to become bigger because there's a mystery over why it won't heal. Is it like what's happening to it? What's the reaction? It feels like Viserys as well. I think you learn a lot about him because he's like, this is nothing. It's just a cut. You know, 'tis but a wound. And that follows into the way that he treats Emma when it comes to her fears about the pregnancy. Everything's fine.
Viserys goes to see Queen Emma, who is in her bath. In this scene, Emma's misery at this being at this stage of pregnancy really contrasts sharply with Viserys' almost like irrational joy. He could not be happier about the fact that he is gonna have a son. He is absolutely sure. Emma tells Viserys that, Rhaenyra is already predicting that it's going to be a girl, who she is calling Visenya, which is very notable. So Viserys then says, this family already has its Visenya. So Visenya was one of the sister queens of King Aegon. She was the more warlike and fearsome one of the sisters. Her child was Maegor, aka King Maegor the Cruel, the third king of Westeros. He died literally on the throne, stabbed multiple times by the blades through his body. So you can get cut. You can get cut by that. So to say this family already has its Visenya is clearly a reference to Daemon, and is a kind of it's a window into how people look at Daemon and how his own blood, how the king looks at Daemon as a chaotic and unstable threat to the realm, like a danger that we don't want too close to power, basically, even though he very clearly loves his brother. Viserys then tells his wife about this dream he had. Their son was born wearing a crown, the crown of Aegon the Conqueror, and then he heard the sounds of battle and roaring dragons, and this dream was like as real as a memory. And Emma is like, listen, that's great, but I'm not doing this again. I think one of the most, this got me when she says, an incredible performance by Sean Brooke, where Queen Emma says, she basically apologizes for never having managed to produce an heir to this point. And it's like, it's really, really sad that she feels like this is something she should apologize for in this moment.
Yeah, the foreshadowing they do of her journey in this episode, from that beginning where she says, the birthing bed is our battlefield, to this where she's like coming to terms with not producing an heir and apologizing for it, but also has this last bit of hope, but is also taking agency and saying, I'm not going to do this again, it's going to destroy me. It's very smart writing that makes what we see later even more heartbreaking.
That night, Daemon addresses his brand new upgraded city watch. They've got those beautiful gold cloaks on. He gives this stirring, almost like football type speech about my brother's city is fallen into squalor. And saying that they're like hounds, they have been trained, and now they are ready to take the city back. And then he lets them loose. And what follows is just an orgy of dismemberments and castrations and beheadings that take place right in the city streets. And it is rough stuff.
It's like an episode worth of Battle of the Bastards level violence in 5 minutes. And it is just absolutely brutal. This is also I find this very interesting because we have that moment in the throne room that feels so intimate and so authentic and real and true to who he is. And then they just pull the rug out and they're like, but he's this guy too. He's doing this for no reason. There's never a reason for it. But in the political machinations of Game of Thrones, there's not a crime that has been committed or something terrible that has been done to his family. This is something he is doing to create fear so that he can have power over the people.
I don't even think it's power, although obviously like he enjoys wielding his power. I think at the very core of it, he is like a younger sibling who just wants to be noticed by the older sibling. Just like, look at me, look at what I'm doing, look at what a good job I'm doing this, I'm doing that. Pay attention to me, my brother the king, and this is what he's doing, and he's doing it by just like
unhinged
decapitating,
man. An unhinged man,
committing various murders. The next day, the small council and Otto Hightower in particular are scandalized by this violence. Prince Daemon is in attendance for once because, of course, he wants to soak in the accolades from his brother, King Viserys. He's got blood dried like on his armor and on his face.
He's looking very smug. He's looking very happy with himself.
Otto practically begs the king to rein in his brother. And Daemon, it's so jarring when Daemon all of a sudden does voice of reason, and he does it here. He points out quite reasonably, like, hey, the realm's most important families are coming here for the name day tournament, the heirs tournament. Shouldn't the streets be safe when they arrive? Huh? And King Viserys is like, actually, that's a good point. Otto, of course, and the rest of the small council are... It's very concerning that the king's brother has a personal army that is loyal only to him. That is a problem. And in fact, Otto is like, shouldn't you go home to your wife, Rhea Royce, in the Vale? Like, why don't you go home? Where's your wife at? And Daemon makes a bunch of Rodney did. My wife, please. You want me to go back to the Vale with the sheep? I don't get no respect here. Daemon makes a bunch of jokes, and then he makes a very unkind comment to Otto about the recent passing of Lady Hightower. And Otto gets mad, and King Viserys has to step in and be like, listen, okay, Otto, you know that Daemon likes to fuck with you, and Daemon, great job with the watch, but just chill out with the crazy shit, okay? Later on, Daemon, as he's wont to do, is blowing off some steam in a brothel with his paramour Mysaria, a native of Lys in the Free Cities of Essos. But he can't, a not uncommon problem. He can't continue because he is so worried about being displaced by the heir that Queen Emma is potentially going to give birth to. And Mysaria's like, don't worry about it. The king will never forget about you. But it's another window into how much Daemon just needs to be next to his brother, just needs to be noticed by him. The tournament begins in conjunction with the Queen's labors. So the Maesters, let's take a victory lap, folks. You got it right. Nice job with the predictions. You nailed it.
Very impressive. I mean, they still can't do that nowadays. So I'm like very impressed. That's one of the most fantastical moments of this show. The suspension of disbelief. Could they guess it right? They guessed it right. They guessed it right.
We get some. Here are some notable tournament highlights. We meet Lord Boros Baratheon, the Lord of Storm's End here. He asks Queen Rhaenys for her favor, addressing her as the queen who never was. Of course, this is a reference to the fact that she lost the Great Council election of 101. That irks the box clearly, and you can tell that she's like, enough with the fucking queen who never was shit. Like, okay. Otto, I think sincerely suggests to King Viserys is like, you could have Boros Baratheon's tongue out. Why not do that? Which is, Otto, calm down, man.
Otto needs to chill out. He's like, it seems very out of character in the moment because you're just like, I thought you were meant to be this serious one. But then you realize he's obsessed with staying in power, and staying in power means Viserys staying in power. And that means he sees any talk of anyone else who could have been heir or king or queen is a threat. But also, chill out.
Absolutely. In the royal box, Rhaenyra and Alicent, again, just like girls doing girl stuff, great friends. They are gossiping about the various families, who's pregnant, who's hooking up, all that kind of normal stuff. We see that Lady Alicent is a worrier, anxious, and she's pulling at her nails all the time. Sir Criston Cole causes a stir by dunking on two sons of House Baratheon. Criston Cole, we learn, is the son of the steward of Lord Dondarrion of the Dornish Marshes in the Stormlands. So interestingly, Criston Cole here is like beating the shit out of the sons of his Lord Paramount, which is very interesting. Prince Daemon shows up, and as Viserys knew he would, because Prince Daemon loves the tournaments. And the prince continues the theme from the earlier small council meeting of trolling Otto Hightower. He loves, first of all, he selects Otto Hightower's son and then goes out of his way to beat his fucking ass. Then he goes to the royal box, is like, Alicent Hightower, daughter of Otto, I would love it if you would give me your favorite. Wouldn't that be great? Could I have your favor, Lady Alicent, as he like locks eyes with Otto? And there's an interesting moment there too, where Rhaenyra, you could see on her face that she knows what he's up to. She's like, oh, you're fucking with Otto. I get it. It comes down to Criston Cole versus Daemon. Sir Criston wins. It is a great battle, a great fight. He removes his helmet, and Alicent and Rhaenyra realize with surprise that he is of Dornish blood. Gods, he's Dornish. Now, the show refers to Criston as of Dornish heritage. So, and this is not necessarily a book change, because he is, in the books, he is also like the common-born son of Lord Dondarrion's steward, the steward of Blackhaven. But making him have Dornish blood is a new wrinkle. And I also love the fact that they can tell he's Dornish because he's got brown hair and he's hot.
Yeah, that's it. I was like, you know why he's Dornish. We've seen people from Dorne before. I feel like this is another one of those things where there's a few little choices here of how they introduce people, or slight changes, or should we say expansions, because of what this is based on. This is based on history that's constantly changing, you know. And I think this one is going to be huge, especially looking at Criston's kind of journey. Yeah.
Meanwhile, while all of this is happening, Queen Aemma is in labor, and it is horrific. The king is eventually called because she's having a lot of trouble, and he makes the decision to attempt to save the life of the child by cutting it out of Aemma's body, thus killing Aemma, but potentially saving the child. And it is a horrific, bloody scene. The queen dies in agony.
Where was the milk of the poppy?
Where was the milk?
Well, they didn't want to get the baby drugged, I guess, but I'm like,
let's overload it with milk of the. Let's overload with milk of the poppy. There's no reason. Yeah, let's go crazy with the milk of the poppy.
Yeah, that Shanbrook did that scene where she's like, just before it starts to happen, and she's sad, begging Viserys, like, please, I'm scared, like, don't do this. And the choice is a heartbreaking one, but in this circumstance, it's just incredibly brutal, and it shows you again that obsession with the heir. Obsession. And, you know, it is, not to put too fine a point on it, but when the government of a place is embodied in the physical form of a person, it actually does. And I'm not making excuses for this, but you're like, this was actually fine.
You understand why, because if you don't get that heir, that means we don't know who's next. That means there's going to be a war, and that means, like, I don't know, 2 million people die because we're going to fight over the throne, unless a person that we all agree is the rightful ruler shows up. And hopefully that is this prince that was born that the king names Baelor. But of course, the child dies quickly after the mother. King Viserys and Rhaenyra are both absolutely shattered. Daemon also, but he's, he expresses it in different ways, as we will see. At the funeral, it falls to Rhaenyra to command her dragon, Syrax, to light the funeral pyres. At the next small council chamber, the funeral pyres are not even out yet,
They're smoldering.
They're smoldering still.
They're
and Otto
smoldering.
Hightower is like, hey, I don't want to be the one to do this, but I'm going to be the one that does this. Let's talk about the succession. Otto, give it like a month. Can we do that? Can we not have it
Even
be
just, like,
the
2 or
very
3
next meeting?
weeks.
Yeah.
Like, especially, like, Rhaenyra is, like, so incendiarily angry. Like, there is so many... It's not just, like, Viserys is devastated, blah, blah, blah. You made that choice, my guy. But, like, there's so many layers to it where rushing this is gonna be a bad idea. It's just, you just know that it's gonna end badly. And also, like, again, Otto, your true colors are showing, and they're going to be showing even more in the next like 5 minutes of the episode. But please, just like, I think it's literally like within 24 hours. I'm like, my guy, please.
Yeah. I mean, it's like the very next meeting. You just gotta calm down. Anyway, he doesn't. And in Otto's mind, this is an issue which needs to be addressed now because for the good of the realm, the stability of the realm, and of course he understands that the king has various infected wounds on his body, so he's concerned about it. Now, it comes down to 2 choices that they have right now. There are, one, Prince Daemon, the king's brother, and an easy choice if not for the fact that everybody understands he'd be terrible. Terrible king.
Yeah, he is the established precedent set, should be the heir, apart from the fact we just saw what happened. Yeah, everybody saw it. Everybody knows it. He is sneaky as fuck. It's going to be a bad idea.
Otto says he would be a second Maegor or worse. Again, Maegor the Cruel, the third king of Westeros. King Viserys is the 5th. So, you know, it would be it's like 70 years earlier, Maegor's reign. So it's not fresh in everybody's mind, but it is present history that we can't let this happen again. And of course, Maegor succeeded one of my favorite Targaryen kings, the second Targaryen king, King Aenys Targaryen, or as I like to call him, the Deuce.
The Deuce.
And King Aenys, Aenys, King Aenys was a weak king, and Maegor was not. Maegor was a warrior. He was knighted at a very young age. Everybody was like, wow, Maegor, what a warrior. And that allowed Maegor to come in and seize power, and what followed was 6 years of really, really terrible shit. And nobody wants to do that again.
No. But they also, whoever planned this great place to have your meetings, didn't think about the fact that the walls are full of holes. So then we see that Daemon is listening to him getting shaded. But he's snuck in and he's listening. So
Maegor the Cruel, notably, played a huge role in the construction of the Red Keep. The construction of the royal castle had started before his reign, but he was the driving force in it, and he wanted particularly the kind of most sensitive areas to be like riddled with these secret passageways. And once construction was finished, in order to keep those passageways secret, he threw a big feast for all the construction workers and then had them killed.
Shocking.
Now, what we are meant to understand by, one, the fact earlier that Daemon was able to come to the castle without anybody seeing him, and then 2, this scene where he's listening to everything that's going on, is Daemon knows where these passages are. He knows where this shit is. He's been doing this since he was a kid, looking for them, and he probably is the foremost expert during this time of where all the secret passageways in the Red Keep are.
Yeah, and the cut to him hearing that comparison to Maegor is not a coincidence.
It's not a coincidence.
That's why it happens. And you just wonder, you're like, my guys, this was the best place. Like, you could have chosen anywhere else. Lo and behold, they just keep shading Daemon.
Well, let me just say this also. It's 110-ish, 109, 110 AC. So, you know, the Red Keep has been built for some 70 plus years, 80 years. Hey, let's get the maesters in here and let's map the fucking secret passage. What are we waiting for? What are we waiting for? Somebody get in here and map these things. Anyway, that's number one candidate to succeed to the Iron Throne is Prince Daemon. Everybody's like, that guy is too much of a wild card. We can't have it. The second candidate, of course, is Princess Rhaenyra, whose main strike against her is she's a woman. And therefore the realm, or a good portion of the realm, would not easily support her. Corlys then is like, hey, let's not forget about my wife, guys. Princess Rhaenys, the queen that never was. What about it? Can I get a round of applause for my wife? Otto Hightower is like, oh, yeah, great. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
As if no wife guys in here, please. Everybody leave.
The Grandmaster Mellos, then not so subtly raises the possibility that, like, hey, what if... I'm just saying, like, what if Daemon, what if he does something against the king, and then, now a big argument has broken out, and the king, of course, cannot stand this. His wife and newborn son literally just died. He made the decision that ended his wife's life in complete horrific agony, and he can't stand this. He storms out. Later, Otto sends a secret message to Old Town. So the very next thing that happens is he's writing this letter. He gives it to Grandmaster Mellos to send off. And his daughter Alicent comes in. And he's like, hey, you should go see the king. You should go see the king. You should, he's hurting right now. And you should put on your mom's nice dress. And you should go, provide comfort to the king. And Alicent is like, in his chambers? Are you saying go to his bedroom to do this? Otto is 100%. That's what Otto is saying. That is what Otto is saying. That night across the city at Daemon and Buster's, Daemon Targaryen has rented out an entire brothel for all of his officers of the City Watch, and he is burying whatever sadness he has under piles of copulating flesh. And of course, he's got this. You can tell that he's sad, but he also has this image of like the cocky, swaggering prince of the city to uphold. And so when one of his guardsman is like, stand for the prince of the city, Daemon Targaryen is going to make a speech. He then makes a speech in which he refers to deceased Prince Balon as, quote, the heir for a day. Bad idea.
Bad look.
Really bad look. Shocking stuff. And of course, Otto Hightower heard about it. He hears about it. Is this connected to the message he was sending? We don't know, but what we understand is that Otto has eyes and ears around the city. He tells the king, and the king is pissed, and rightfully so. Pissed. He calls Daemon to come see him in the throne room. He's got his Kingsguard arrayed in front of him. He is holding Blackfire, the sword of Aegon the Conqueror. He has got the crown on, and he is like, did you say it? And Daemon is like, yeah, I said it. That was fucked up, but I did say it. And then he's like, you're going back to the Vale. You're going to back to your wife, Rhea Royce, in the Vale. You're going right now. And if you remain in the city, basically, like, it's on pain of death. Like, you must leave. I am ordering you as your king to leave. Daemon clearly isn't going, though, because we later see him at the dragon pit with his dragon, the bloodworm Caraxes, and his mistress Mysaria. So wherever they are going, they are not fucking going back to the Vale, because you don't bring your mistress to the Vale to meet your wife. Later, in the crypt of Balerion the Black Dread, the famous dragon of Aegon the Conqueror, the oldest living thing when it was still alive, the last living thing to have gazed upon old Valyria, King Viserys meets Rhaenyra, his daughter, and he shares with her a actual, like, story recontextualizing secret.
Yeah,
both for the books and the show.
This is the moment.
This is a big deal.
There is so much great character work and foreshadowing and little moments that play into each other. But if you have the takeaway moment, this is the ground shattering, changes the way we look at everything moment.
100%. He says that Aegon the Conqueror, it is said that he looked at Westeros and saw a prize worth taking, and that's why he invaded with his sisters Visenya and Rhaenys. But not the case. Aegon had a dream that a long winter was coming, and that only a Targaryen on the throne of Westeros could be the hero to stop it. And this secret, apparently, we learn, has been passed down from ruler to heir since the days of Aegon, and since Rhaenyra is now Viserys' heir. He is giving her the top secret Conqueror file and telling her, this is the mission of House Targaryen. You now have this responsibility on your shoulders. And later we see in the throne room the various noble houses of the realm called. They were already there for the heirs tournament, so apparently they stayed around, and now they are kneeling before Rhaenyra in the presence of the king and swearing fealty and allegiance to her in front of the eyes of the entire realm. And I'm sure that's it. It's fine now. Rhaenyra her reign is going to be unopposed because
that's
everybody
why it's called
agreed
House
to
of
it.
Dragon. It's just Targaryens chilling. It's going to be fine.
First of all, great pilot episode. That was a masterclass in how you give exposition in a way that doesn't feel like someone's just reading you the lore of a place. Like that felt like Game of Thrones when Game of Thrones was like firing on all cylinders.
Yeah, I think something that is so intrinsically clever about House of the Dragon is the fact that it is essentially based on a history of Westeros means you can have people in the show explaining the history as a narrative part of the show. Other people, we meet so many houses that we never met in Game of Thrones, just in the first episode. Like, there is so much to take in, but there's these quiet character moments and setups that weigh it down with a humanity, even in this space of the dragons. And then just when you think like, oh, the conflict's really hotting up, they're like, oh, by the way, everything you know is completely different from the way you thought it was.
Now, apparently that little tidbit came directly from George, who has been has been super, super involved in this show. And it's legitimately a big deal. And it was funny because when I saw this, I reflected on the fact that, like, when you read the books, you don't know anything about Aegon. Like, we know what he did, and we know what his sisters, we know the Painted Table, we know he came over from Dragonstone, etc., with maybe 300 men, 3 dragons. But you don't know anything about his personality. We don't know like what he liked, what he didn't like to do. We get the feeling that he was had warm feelings for his sister Queen Rhaenys, and that kind of was just like whatever about Visenya, but maybe was in love with Rhaenys. But we don't know a lot about him, and this is the first time that we've really got a sense of mission and motivation about Aegon, and learn something like that is such a big deal about him that not only recontextualizes what we know about him, but the actions of all the Targaryen kings that came after.
Because also, imagine this. So we've gone from Aegon the Conqueror, Aegon going to conquer Westeros, to destroy it, to defile it, to take the power, to going there to unite it.
Yeah.
That's huge. And also, like, I'm glad to hear that confirmation, because it obviously felt like it had to come to George for me, because that recontextualizes the world that is his world, but it's kind of cool as well to build on that Targaryen tradition of like Daenerys having the dreams and the prophetic dreams, and Daeron the Drunken, and it's very cool to see that built in. But this is the dream. This is the reason that Targaryens probably were ever gifted with prophetic dreams, was for this dream. And the fact, like, it's so poetic, and this is something I love about doing a prequel, right? You get to do it, and you get to have him say, Aegon called his dream the Song of Ice and Fire.
I know.
And he says the thing, and it's so fun when you say the thing, and then we know that it's true, but we know that it is truly a Song of Ice and Fire because it's Jon Snow who saves the realm. It's
Or is it?
Or is it?
Because, like, it's a great point. On later episodes, I'm sure we will get into the whole Prince that was promised, but you could see Jon Snow half Targaryen, half Stark, right? Okay.
Yeah, you could
literally
argue
the Song of Ice and
what
Fire.
it means.
At the same time, man, when Viserys is saying this to Rhaenyra, he's got his hand on that cat's paw blade, that famous dagger that Joffrey, in his pettiness, gave to a cutthroat and sent to go kill Bran Stark, who is already in a coma from falling from the tower in episode 1 of Game of Thrones. And it just shows you, number one, Joffrey's immense irrationality that he sent an assassin with like a priceless and historic weapon. But it's meaningful to me that, one, Viserys has got his hand on that dagger as he's telling Rhaenyra that secret. And then later, it is Arya stabbing the Night King with that dagger that ends the threat.
Yes.
And, who's to say that that's not the Song of Ice and Fire?
Because also, I like that reading because, look, a Targaryen needs to sit on the throne for the Westeros and the Seven Kingdoms to be saved, right? And Daenerys was on the throne, so there's a Targaryen on the throne, but it doesn't necessarily mean that the exact moment isn't Arya with the cat's paw blade. Because that's that uniting, coming together as well. I love that reading. I think that's really cool.
Yeah. I'm so excited to continue to talk about this show. It's been fun to get back into it. It's been fun to, just be talking with my Game of Thrones friends again, and, texting people and being like, oh, my God, what do you think this means? This is a big deal. Man, that the Aegon prophecy, and, of course, for Targaryens, dreams are a big deal. You mentioned it. Daenerys the Dreamer, 12 years before the Doom of Valyria destroyed old Valyria, had that dream.
Yep.
That the land was going to be destroyed in a cataclysm, convinced her dad that it was going to happen, and they pulled up stakes and left. And that is why, amongst all the dragon lords of old Valyria, only the Targaryens survived. And the Targaryens were not even they were not like the most powerful house or anywhere near it. They were just like a lower middle class dragon riding noble house, but who had this touch of prophecy and good fortune that allowed them to survive. So any dream like this, I mean, you want to know why Viserys is putting so much stock in this dream that he had about having a son. It's the same reason that he is so almost messianic about this Song and Ice and Fire dream of Aegon's. It's that dreams legitimately saved the entire family from destruction at one time. And so they just put a lot of stock in it.
Okay, so this is a question I want to ask you then, because I was thinking about this a lot with the dreams. So Viserys had that dream. Aemma died. The baby died. We saw Alicent then go to his chambers. There is obviously something going on there. Is there a version of Viserys' dream where that comes true, but it's not his and Aemma's baby? Like, do you see that as it's a prophetic dream? It's just far more in the future.
That would be in line with the way that prophecies often work in this world. It's the same thing with the Prince that was promised, or R'hllor, any of the prophecies of R'hllor. There's always, and George R. Martin's stories and in this world, various different ways to look at to parse a prophecy and figure out what it means. And it's always the trickiest, windiest, not straight,
it's like
forward
Jinlaw
version. Yeah,
there's always like you think it means one thing, but you read it a different way and it actually means this. And I'm very interested to see how they play with prophecy more, because like in the books, like Daenerys had prophetic dreams and stuff, and I would love to see. I love that aspect of this stuff, and I feel like with the dragons, there's even more of that supernatural kind of prophetic aspect to it. So I was really excited that this is clearly going to be like a big part of this season going forwards.
Yeah, I can't wait.